I'd often wondered what it would be like the day when peace came. I'd been in the army 3 years and spent most of it on the Western Front. I once heard someone say that was the war to end all war. Mankind wouldn't be stupid enough to repeat what we'd been through, right? I remember saying to my sergeant, "Bill, if this is the end of all war, then you and me are most likely the last ever soldiers." Can you imagine that? I remember Armistice Day like it were yesterday. It was a cold, autumn morning, and we were holding a position near a farm. The front had been through so many times that there was hardly anything left. The ground was all shell craters filled with muddy water. There had been trees, but they'd been blasted, leaving bits of wood sticking out of the mud. As far as the eye could see, everything was destroyed. But right in the middle of all that was one tree that was still alive. I could still see it, clear as day. I couldn't believe it. Amongst all this death and destruction, there was life. It being November, it had dropped all its leaves, but you knew that come May, they'd be back, as though nothing had happened. One of my abiding memories of that time is feeling the seasons change. You notice it more when you're outside in a trench. When I was a boy, I was aware of seasons, but never thought about them. In those days, you just looked out the window at what the weather was doing and put on the right clobber. If it were cold, you shoved on a jumper and a coat. If it were warm, you took them off. You just got on with it. I remember one winter, when I was a child, the snow were up to our ankles, and my mate Will showed us a story in a newspaper about skiers. There was a picture of a bloke in front of a mountain holding a pair of skis. "I could make some of them," I said. "Couple of planks of wood and some string and we're in business." Well, we got the wood off a scrap pile at Ardacre's mill. "Hold on," said Will. "We've no mountain. You can't ski without a mountain, even I know that." "I know," I said. "We'll go up Stormer Hill." Well, I tied the planks to my boots. "Make sure you tie 'em tight," said Will. "You're a bloody fool, Albert Webb," cried Alf Brown. "You'll break your bloody neck and it'll serve you right." "Oh, stop your moaning," I said. I pulled the last bit of string tight. "Count me down." Well, they started at 5, but I'd only got to 3 when Will shoved me off. I nearly lost my balance, but I was soon hurtling down that hill. Felt like I was going 100 miles an hour. Trouble was, I hadn't thought it through. I mean, how the hell do you turn? And more important, how do you stop? You see, there were a bloody great river at the bottom. Before I could think about it, I hit a rock, shattered my ski, somersaulted and landed in a snowdrift. Someone was smiling down on me that day. That pile of snow stopped me from slamming into a wall head first. All I got was a twisted ankle and some bruising. It were up Stormer Hill one sultry summer's evening that I had my first snog. Mary Higginbottom. She was in my class at school. I say a snog, it were more like a fumble in the long grass. But still, happy times. Of that gang, we lost Alf, Charlie and Will to that bloody war, and half a dozen others. Will and me had always been tight. We grew up together, joined up at the same time, ended up in the same platoon. We were side by side when he got killed. There isn't a day goes by that I don't think that bullet should have hit me. He had so much to live for. Until the army, I'd never left England. I'd barely ever ventured beyond my town. But in spring 1916, I was in France. And it was as exciting as it was frightening. We'd passed through little villages with stone cottages, all with window boxes. They looked ever so pretty, ablaze with flowers. And the scent. That's where I got my love of flowers. The only thing to spoil it was the constant rumble of shellfire, like distant thunder. The night we went up to the front, it had just turned to summer. We marched along country lanes and smelled the fragrant night waft of honeysuckle. You focused on that, not on the flashes in the sky beyond the trees or the shelling. I concentrated my mind on the flowers and tried to remember Stormer Hill. Summer 1916 was a scorcher. And what did they give us to wear? Great thick woolen uniforms with heavy packs and steel helmets. You didn't have sweat under them. But that was better than winter. The cold rain soaked into the wool and you couldn't get dry. You almost caught your death. In winter, at night, in a trench, it was freezing cold, and I mean freezing, and wet. Some nights you were so cold you were shaking, and you daren't go to sleep in case you never woke up. They used to drum into us foot hygiene. To avoid trench foot, you have to keep your feet dry, which is near impossible when you're up to your ankles in standing water. You couldn't hang your socks on a washing line, so we had to find other ways to dry them. We'd shove them down our underpants. It's cold, but it works. You noticed the nights drawing in. There were no lights, so you couldn't see anything, but you heard everything. The enemy in their trench, talking and moving about. You couldn't understand them, but your mind was working overtime. I was always certain they were getting ready to attack, so I was constantly on edge, which meant I couldn't sleep. Then there were the rats. Thousands of the buggers, scratching around. You heard them, but you couldn't see them. We longed for spring and warmth to come back. Longer days meant shorter nights, but the seasons turn, and the nights get longer again, and I'd get that sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, knowing I'd have to face another winter. That feeling was especially strong as autumn 1918 came around. The first we heard of the armistice was when our captain came down the line. "They're surrendering," he said. I always imagined there'd be cheering when we heard that, but there wasn't. Instead, we all just listened in silence. He said, "They're calling it a day at 11. Calling it a day, as if they were packing up after a fishing trip. I checked my watch. It was just after 8. 3 hours. "Captain," I said, "what do we do till then?" "Keep firing, Webb," he said, "and don't go taking any chances either. We don't want no accidents. Not now, just as we're about to go home." Those were the longest 3 hours of my life, waiting. Then 11 came, and that was it. The cannon fire just faded away, as if someone had turned down the volume, leaving nothing but silence. Many have spoken of hearing birdsong. For me, it was a robin, somewhere behind me. Then it flew in, so close I could feel the draft from its wings. It landed on that tree and looked straight at me. You know what they say about robins and the departed. I swear, Will stepped out from behind that tree. Will, who'd fallen at the Somme. He looked young, relaxed and happy. He laughed and waved at me. I welled up, had to wipe my eyes. And when I looked again, he was gone. And so was the bird. And that was that.